Hey, welcome everyone. In today's episode, I have a special guest. He's well known in the Twin Cities area. I've been waiting for this conversation. So, the topic for today is about learning and human connection. So, the way we learn and the way we connect as humans is being reshaped, if you will, by technology and shifting cultural values. So, I want to unpack that, and we're going to explore what is the future of learning going to look like, how it is intertwined with the essence of human connection from classrooms to workplace, what it means for leaders, educators, and communities. So the topic for today is unpacking the future of learning and human connection. Manjeet, it's a pleasure to have you. Or why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we can straight away just jump into the topic.
Sure. Thank you so much, Anand, for having me. So my name is Manjeet Rege. I am with the University of St.Thomas. I am the department chair for software engineering and data science. We have four master's degrees in AI, information technology, software engineering, and data science. I'm also the director for the Center for Applied Artificial Intelligence there.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for being part of the show, Manjeet. So when we think about technology, technology has often has given us access to endless information, right? But learning is more than just consuming content. I want to probably start with how do you see the role of human connection shaping the way the people learn in the future, Manjit?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions we have fallen into is equating access to information with actual learning. Now, the technology has made information available, but that abundance doesn't equal understanding.
Sure.
And that is where I think human connection comes in. So, human connection is what allows us to maybe contextualize that information, test it against our own experiences, and to draw meaning from it. Um, and think about how we really learn. It's not by just consuming information, not just
Yeah.
by reading an article or watching a video. It's when someone challenges us with a question we had not considered, or when we maybe even debate a point with a peer, or see a different point of view, or explain our point of view. I
Hmm.
think that is where I think that is the glue that makes knowledge stick with us for a long time. And the future of learning has to recognize that while platforms and apps and AI can provide content,
Hmm.
it's the interactions between people, mentors, peers, that is essential. And as we get more and more towards technology and AI delivering content, that human component, which has always been the core of learning,
Hmm.
that should not get eliminated. Because if
Yep.
that gets eliminated, or if that gets diminished, I think that learning is also going to get diminished, and is going to pay a price for it.
Right. I think you brought up an important point. Like people are craving to have human connection. So I want to go back to when I learned stuff, I always had tutors. I always had teachers to reach out. I always meet with friends. Like we did a lot of studies together with textbooks. But I think there are many apps being rolled out now. Many organizations are pushing the digital first solutions when it comes to learning. But oftentimes people are like craving for mentorship, craving for real dialogue. What do you think in future? How can leaders strike the right balance between tech-enabled learning versus personal guidance?
Yeah, so I think digital first approaches make sense because they are efficient and, of course, scalable. And also, you can get over the language barrier. You can deliver the same content to different, backgrounds of people based on their language preferences. But efficiency can't be the only measure of success. Leaders have to see that technology as a tool that creates
Mhm.
space for deeper human interaction, and not as a substitute for it.
Mhm.
For instance, online platforms can take care of delivering baseline content, but things like whether it's compliance training, technical updates, or foundational knowledge and things like that. But that frees up leaders and managers to focus on the parts of learning that really matter, such as you pointed out,
Right.
mentoring, coaching, and guiding people through real world challenges. So employees, want to know someone is invested in them and not just in their output. So the right balance comes with maintaining that balance between a digital first as well as that digital first doesn't mean the human has to be last.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well said. It doesn't mean human has to be last. So oftentimes people measure the knowledge or learning, measure the learning by how much knowledge you gained. But connection is all about transformation. What is the impact that you're making? I want to probably like share a story that you have seen or even from your personal experience where human connection turned learning into a lasting impact.
Yeah. So, I teach courses in machine learning and AI at a graduate level. I think of a student I taught who came into an AI course feeling completely overwhelmed. The person was really brilliant, but had somehow
Mhm.
convinced himself that they were not technical enough to keep up. Now, after a couple of difficult assignments, he was ready to drop the course. I
Mhm.
sat down with the student for a one on one conversation, and instead of focusing on the mistakes,
Mhm.
I reframed the struggle as evidence that they were, in fact, stretching themselves in exactly the right way. It's like, oh, if you have never worked out and you go and work out, you're going to get sore.
Yes.
So just because you got sore, you got a little bit hurt, doesn't mean that you cannot ultimately reach the end goal. So then I paired this particular student with a small group of peers who could support and share different perspectives.
Mhm.
And then over the next few weeks, I watched the student's confidence shift considerably. And
Mhm.
by the end of the semester, he was not only keeping up, but actually, leading discussions, even mentoring others who had been struggling. So when you notice that there are others like you who have had a different path to where you are at, and
Yeah.
that is what changes the perspective.
Yeah.
So the content had not changed, right? It was the connection that really
Yep.
made the.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about the human connection. I know you do a lot of research in AI space. I've been following your LinkedIn posts, and it's amazing to see how much research you're doing. And AI promises a lot of efficiency, but sometimes they can also create isolation. I'm curious to know how do you think, or how do you see technology enabling or eroding this meaningful connections in learning spaces?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to learning, I think about AI as a double-edged sword. On one side, it can personalize experiences, it can adapt content to individual needs,
Hmm.
and even identify when someone is struggling and recommend resources or mentors.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've come across this news about there is this K-12 school in
Hmm.
Austin, Texas that has replaced the classroom teaching into an AI delivery. So students come in and they have personalized content using AI delivered in only 2 hours. So 6 hours
Yep.
of school instruction has been reduced to only 2 hours delivered by AI. And the
Yep.
remaining time is then devoted by these human guides on other aspects like personality development, personal finance, public speaking, and other things. So there is no longitudinal study about whether going to that extreme is is in fact going to be a better way of delivery, or are students going to miss out on
Right.
again that human component of learning together, getting into that discussion or not? So future, I think, challenge for educators and organizations is to design AI systems that don't replace that dialogue, but
Yeah. Yeah.
instead spark it. So AI should be an assistant that nudges people towards community, not the barrier that keeps them apart. So AI could be a tool that identifies that here is a person that is maybe losing concentration at this
Mhm.
particular point, that whenever there is a mathematical equation on the slide, that
Right.
person tends to get a little bit intimidated. This is something that an AI can pinpoint. When you're teaching a class of 30, that human may not notice that, but a AI can notice that and bring it to the attention of the human delivering or leading rather,
Hmm. Hmm.
and and that can lead to a meaningful intervention.
Right. Right. 100%. Um, I want to probably shift the gears. This is so personal to me as well, Manjit. The formal education is shifting, so as workplace learning. So I'll tell you a story. When I started my career 15, 20 years ago, back in India, I used to teach the interns or the new joinees, right, in the organization that I worked with. It is always fun to get into a classroom like type setup. I do teach the Java programming and the .NET programming back in those days. It was really fun to see those new joinees right out of college into the internship program or whatnot. It's purely the classroom setup, if you will. But
Yeah.
it is changing, right? I don't think I don't know whether that particular organization is doing that kind of classroom setup anymore. But I'm curious to know what lessons from classroom type setup do you think organizations should adopt to foster growth and belonging?
Yeah. So, classrooms at their best have always been places where belonging is central.
Yep.
The best teachers know that students don't learn if they don't feel safe to ask questions, make mistakes, and even experiment.
Yep.
So, that's a huge lesson for workplaces. Too often in organizations, people feel like they have to be perfect every time and they're afraid of failure. But if you look at modern classrooms, good educators encourage trial and error, um, also frequent feedback and
Mhm.
collaboration is very, very essential. So workplaces should maybe adopt that same approach, encourage learning sprints instead of one, like a massive exam at the end of the year or the end of the semester, like what we used to have.
Yep.
So give people the space to work on projects that matter to real stakeholders, I think. And also, celebrate progress
Mhm.
and not to necessarily ding somebody just because they might have had a small failure. Because maybe a few yards beyond that failure, there could be a success as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think the lifelong learning is now a necessity, right? It is not a choice given the rapid change in technology space, like given AI rapidly changing every day, every hour. How can
Yeah.
one keep the curiosity alive for their entire career journey? Because those days are gone, like where you just do the learning only when you are in college or university. But even if you have 20 years, 25 plus years of experience, you still need to keep yourself up to date, right? Otherwise, you'll be outdated.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what some of the things that you can share to keep the curiosity alive so that they can just practice that through the entire career journey.
Yeah. So very rightly said, lifelong learning is a necessity, not a choice anymore. And communities are the secret ingredient in
Hmm.
sustaining lifelong learning. Individuals may start with motivation, but motivation can fade without reinforcement. And that reinforcement comes from
Right.
a community that you might be a part of. So also they give you some level of inspiration, diversity of perspective. Think of alumni networks.
Hmm.
Those are a powerful means of feedback as well. Maybe some professional groups, even local meetups. They give people role models to aspire to, uh, peers to learn with, and platforms to share their growth. And even program like ours at St. Thomas, we have working professionals coming together in a classroom.
Sure.
They work together on an assignment or a project. They spend an entire semester or that entire master's degree together. That's another community that gets built around you as well. And that is another group to tap into as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a saying that people say some of the best lessons come not from textbooks, but from people through interactions and through experience. I'm sure you have your mentors in your life. So I'm curious to know, how did they shape your view of connection and learning?
So, one of the most transformative mentors in my life was someone who constantly pushed me to explain not just what I thought, but why I thought it. So,
Okay.
they didn't let me settle for surface level answers. They modeled the curiosity and rigor, but
Right.
they did it with genuine care. So, that combination of challenge and support taught me that high expectations only work when they are paired with trust. So that lesson has, shaped the way I approach teaching and even any mentorship that I do today as well.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think I think the learning and connections are deeply tied to a purpose, right? There's always a purpose behind it. It's not a checkbox, in my view.
Yeah,
Um, now, as an individual or even as an organization, we have to make sure that it is tied to a purpose. It's not a checkbox, right? Just for the sake of learning, you cannot sign up for a course and then finish the course. It has
right.
to tie to a purpose. It has to have a meaning. You have to take those learnings and come and apply at the workplace or somewhere else. Um,
Yeah,
what is your take on how can an individual or an organization ensure that learning journey stays authentic, right? That is most important, not just transactional, right? Not just checking the
yeah,
checkbox.
yeah. So I think authentic learning starts with a clear sense of purpose. For individuals, that means asking, why does this matter to me? How does it align with who I want to become?
Right.
For organizations, it means connecting with every training program or development opportunity to a larger mission. So if employees don't see how a skill helps them serve customers better, or maybe
Yep.
innovate faster, or perhaps grow personally,
Right.
the learning just becomes, as you said, a box ticking exercise. But to keep it authentic,
Hmm.
organizations should build in reflection,
Hmm.
asking
Hmm.
learners to articulate what changed in their thinking as a result of going through that particular training. And not only that, now that you have gone through this training, how would you envision applying this
Correct.
within our organization as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Manjit, back to your research and back to your favorite topic of AI and how the technology is evolving at a rapid speed. I'm going to put you on spot. Like 5 years from now or 10 years from now, imagine the future classroom or the workplace learning space. What it would look like in your view, or feel like in your view, when human connection is truly at the center.
Well, at the pace at which AI is rapidly changing, we don't know where AI would be in 10 years. If I had to, take a shot at this. So 10 years from now, I think the best learning spaces will look and feel very different from what it is today. First,
Yep.
they'll be flexible, designed to adapt to both physical and digital presence seamlessly. Today, we have that little bit of disconnect if somebody is remote over Zoom or if somebody is sitting right next to you. And I
Hmm.
think Google has done some really amazing work in that particular regard as well, where a remote person, a sitting person, you don't feel that level of distance anymore. And there would
Right.
be other such big innovations. Second is there would be an immersive experience. So
Hmm.
using technology like real time translation, or you could be wearing something that is a lot more immersive, wearable device that even though you are sitting at home, you'll feel as if you're sitting to next to your classroom buddy. So instead of rows of desks or endless slideshows, you'll see circles of dialogue.
Yeah.
Um, and intentionally, we'll have some time set aside for reflection and discussion as well. So the technology will be powerful, but almost, I would say, invisible,
Yeah.
serving to connect people rather than distract them. And the measure of success won't just be skills gain, but
Right.
relationships built and communities strengthened. So these spaces will be places where people don't just come to learn and leave, they come to be inspired, to collaborate, and to leave, transform themselves, and then eventually transform the world around them as well.
Right. Right. I can only imagine, Manjit, what it's going to look like 10 years from now or 5 years from now. I think imagination is going to be endless. Like, even like I can share one small personal experience. I asked my kid to create a birthday card because his
Uh-huh.
golden birthday is tomorrow. So he literally
Great. Happy
went
birthday.
to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT, "Can you give me some ideas to create a birthday card?" Right. So it's fascinating to me. Like, he's 9 years old and he's using ChatGPT to do this. Like, which is fascinating to me. I can only imagine. Thank you so much for taking the time, Manjit, to unpack this future learning and human connections with me. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for taking the time.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.